Welcome back to the Right Take Report. We got exciting news today. Canada has a new Prime Minister, Mark Carney. And with his election, many are wondering just how this will shape out for not just Canada, but the United States and every other person and place Canada has relationships with all over the world. Carney isn't your typical politician. He's a former central banker who has now been thrust into the political spotlight. Kind of reminds me of Trump, except people do not like the comparison of Carney and Trump, which makes sense given their different backgrounds and Trump's comments about Canada recently. So what does this mean for Canada, the United States, and the world? Let's break it down.
Go live to Canada, where Mark Carney is being sworn in as Prime Minister. Let's listen in.
Roi de Canada à ses héritiers et successeurs. I, Mark Carney, do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to His Majesty, King Charles III, King of Canada, his heirs and successors. I, Mark Carney, do solemnly and sincerely swear that I shall be a true and faithful servant to His Majesty, King Charles III, as a member of His Majesty's Privy Council for Canada. I will, in all things, to be treated, debated, and resolved in Privy Council, faithfully, honestly, and truly declare my mind and my opinion. I shall keep secret all matters committed and revealed to me in this capacity, or that shall be secretly treated of in council. Generally, in all things I shall do as a faithful and true servant ought to do for His Majesty. I, Mark Carney, do solemnly and sincerely promise and swear that I will truly and faithfully, and to the best of my skill and knowledge, execute the powers and trust reposed in me as Prime Minister.
You've talked about Trump needs.
All right, it's no surprise that Canadians were eager to replace Justin Trudeau. It's just facts. He was not up to the ball and up to the mark when it came to running the country. His policies, from carbon taxes to reckless government spending, have driven up the cost of living and pushed Canada into somewhat of a crisis and a bad relationship with the United States. Under his leadership, national debt nearly doubled, inflation skyrocketed, and food bank usage skyrocketed as well. Canadians were simply fed up with Trudeau. His virtue signaling and his economic mismanagement didn't align well with the people's beliefs. What a surprise. Now, does Mark Carney represent a fresh start? I think he does. On the surface, he's different. He's not a career politician, and he brings experience from the financial world. But his close ties to Trudeau's policies do raise a few questions. I don't think he's Trudeau 2.0, and he's been compared to Trump a lot of times given his non-political background. However, he is a different version and one that hopefully can work better with the United States.
Need to show Canada respect.
President Trump.
President Trump needs to show Canada respect. You said that again just now. Are you not going to speak with President Trump until he cuts out this 51st state talk?
No. I look forward to speaking with President Trump. Just to be clear, we respect the United States. We respect President Trump. President Trump has put some very important issues at the top of his agenda. We understand his agenda. We understand the importance of addressing the scourge of fentanyl, which is a challenge here in Canada as well as the United States. And I would say that the measures that have been put in place in recent weeks in Canada and Mexico, also the United States, means that we are making tremendous progress. I'll speak specifically for Canada against fentanyl. We understand the importance President Trump places on American workers and American jobs. We want him and his administration to understand the importance we put on Canadian workers and Canadian jobs. And we will look for avenues to work together so that both objectives are met in terms of both our great economies, just as we are doing, and the people behind me have led this, just as we are doing with respect to the scourge of fentanyl.
Canada has officially sworn in a new prime minister. Mark Carney, a central banker turned politician, took his oath earlier today after the resignation of Canada's longtime leader, Justin Trudeau. Trudeau, who spent more than 9 years as Prime Minister, bid farewell and thanked Canadians on X, calling them the best country and the best people on earth. CNN's Paula Newton is here with more on this. So, Paula, Carney's background is in finance. It's not in politics, much like...
I think, real quick, one of the first things Carney did after taking office was make it clear that he respects the United States. He seems to be taking a page out of Zelensky's playbook after the debacle of a talk that he had with the United States. It's a very interesting shift because in the past, Canada hasn't always been so friendly towards the United States given the tariffs and the trade war potential. However, it's better to be friendly and try to get something done. Carney is a smart guy. He understands how global markets work, and he has the kind of financial background that could bring actual stability to Canada's struggling economy in 2025. Some may say he's a little bit like Trump and running Canada like a business, just as Americans want Trump to run America like a business. But how that plays out in practice definitely remains to be seen. And speaking of Trudeau, his exit was actually pretty underwhelming. His response to Carney's win was short, almost kind of dismissive. That tweet wasn't too flavorful, just in and out. It's as if he's really not thrilled to be leaving. I wonder why. But let's be honest, it was time for him to go.
Like Trump's when he first became U.S. president, what kind of leader is he expected to be, and how can he handle this current trade crisis?
Well, I think in certain levels, in terms of style, much differently than Justin Trudeau. I think right down to the dark blue suit and the gray tie that he wore today to be sworn in, Brianna, there really was a contrast. This is an economist. He is a serious man. He did, I will say, go out of his way to point out the similarities with Donald Trump, that he has cut big deals in real estate and that he did have some ties to the Trump administration in its first instance. I want you to listen now, though, to something that irks him and irks so many Canadians about the fact that the president continues to talk about the 51st state, and he explains why that will never happen. Listen.
I've been clear, personally I've been clear, the ministers behind me, I think to an individual, when asked, have been clear that we will never, ever, in any way, shape, or form, be part of the United States. America is not Canada. Look at the ceremony we just had. You could not have had that ceremony. You would not have that ceremony in America. Look at the cabinet behind me. You would not have that cabinet in America. You do not have that cabinet in America. We are a very fundamentally different country.
Yeah, Brianna, before that, he actually said the words in terms of Canada becoming the 51st state. It's crazy. His point is crazy. That's it. Now, part of this is obviously due to the fact that we are likely to be in an election campaign in Canada within the next few days. And this is really him standing up for nationalism, something that is definitely popular in Canada right now. But Brianna, you'll forgive the entire election campaign because some days it will seem as if everyone is campaigning against U.S. President Donald Trump and not against each other, the politicians that will be running within just a few days.
Yeah, that's certainly the case. So he is now the first unelected prime minister in more than 40 years. That means he's not technically a part of parliament. For those who are not intimately familiar with the Canadian political process, how does that impact his duties and how he can carry them out as prime minister?
It doesn't affect his duties at all, but we always revolve around this word mandate. What does mandate mean? It means you want the people to elect you so that you have the full power, the full backing of the Canadian people.
And I agree with this. It should be people elected. And one final take is, what is Carney's potential impact on America? Well, the most immediate issue is tariffs and trade. He's already signaled to Trump that he is ready to stand up to tariffs. And maybe he'll work with him on the tariffs. And he understands that Canada has leverage, especially when it comes to energy exports as their major oil exporter. But the trade wars aren't just about tariffs. They're also about currency, and Carney's experience as a broker or a banker gives him unique advantage in this type of battle. Not to mention, I think Trump is saying Canada is going to be the 51st state as more of a scare tactic and negotiating term with no real intent behind it, just to kind of get under their skin a little bit, which it seems to have worked. However, I think Carney's role on the world stage will be under scrutiny, but he'll have to navigate very carefully to see how he can interact with other countries at a national level. Here's my final conclusion and the outro. So, is Mark Carney the right man for the job? The world doesn't know yet. But what we do know is he is way, way more competent than Trippy Trudeau, and his economic expertise can be extremely beneficial for the country and its outside relations. But whether he truly brings any type of change or just continues the liberal status quo kind of remains to be seen. For America, it presents challenges and opportunities. He could be tough on trade and tariffs, but he also understands the importance of strong relationships and big business deals, just like Trump does. So, let's see if Carney can get it done and back up his words with action, or if he just ends up another politician in the empty supply chain of politicians.